and see me okay.
In what the Pentagon is calling a tragic mistake, the U.S. military on Friday admitted that a drone strike in Kabul last month killed as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children. Senior U.S. officers had previously said the August 29th strike that took place as foreign troops completed the last stages of their withdrawal from Afghanistan targeted an Islamic State suicide bomber who posed an imminent threat to Kabul airports. But following an investigation, U.S. General Frank McKenzie admitted Friday they were wrong.
We now assess that it is unlikely that the vehicle and those who died were associated with ISIS-K or were a direct threat to U.S. forces. I offer my profound condolences to the family and friends of those who were killed. This strike was taken in the earnest belief that it would prevent an imminent threat to our forces and the evacuees of the airport. But it was a mistake, and I offer my sincere apology.
McKenzie said the Pentagon is considering reparations for the civilians killed. Friday's announcement comes weeks after reports emerged that civilians, including children, were the victims of the drone strike, one that came 3 days after an Islamic State suicide bomber killed 13 U.S. troops and scores of Afghan civilians who had crowded outside Kabul's airport, desperate to evacuate after the Taliban swept into power.
We did not have the luxury of time to develop a pattern of life and to do a number of other things. We struck under the theory of reasonable certainty. Probably our strikes in Afghanistan going forward will be under a higher standard. That's a policy matter, not a purely military matter. But I don't think you should draw any conclusions about our ability to strike in Afghanistan against ISIS-K targets in the future based on this particular strike.
While it is rare for senior Pentagon officials to apologize personally for civilians killed in strikes, the military does put out reports on civilians killed in operations around the world. In a statement, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said the August 29th drone strike had killed a man who worked for a nonprofit called Nutrition and Education International. Austin said he asked for a review of the strike investigation, which could include accountability measures.
Biden's administration is just screwing up royally and just saying that, my bad. Sometimes I think that they just want to create more terrorists. Like they want to create wars. Like they want to create enemies. I really think so. I really think they're doing this. I mean, both parties love war. Don't get it twisted. Both parties benefit from war. A U.S. airstrike in Kabul against a supposed Islamic State bomber actually killed an innocent man who worked for a U.S. aid group and his family, according to newly published testimony and footage, raising the specter that the Pentagon, lied to the public about the strike. Like they lie about a lot of things. The reported case of mistaken identity also further tars President Biden for his chaotic pullout of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, which left behind hundreds of U.S. citizens and thousands of at-risk Afghans. Zamari Amandi and 9 members of his family, including 7 children, were killed in the airstrike on August 29th, one day before the final U.S. evacuation flights from Kabul. His brother, Romal Amandi, told the New York Times, Amandi, who was the apparent target of the strike, worked for 14 years as a technical engineer in Afghanistan for the Pasadena, California-based charity group Nutrition and Education International, which feeds hungry Afghans. The aid group had applied for him to move to the U.S. as a refugee. New security footage from his workplace shows Amid, whose neighborhood had unreliable water service, filling containers with water at his employer's office at 2:35 p.m., shortly before he returned home. Fire damage containers consistent with the water canisters were photographed by the Times. I don't know if I could, show how the U.S. drone strike killed the wrong person. I don't think I should show that because, it could be too graphic. He and his colleagues who had driven to work also were carrying laptop computers that day, according to security footage, possibly explaining the military's claim that the targeted Toyota Corolla contained carefully wrapped packages. The Times disputed the Pentagon's claim that the secondary explosions demonstrated that explosive materials were ignited by U.S. Reaper drones' Hellfire missiles. Damn, dude burned alive. The Asian walls near Ahmadi's car were not toppled by the airstrike or by any subsequent explosions. 3 weapons experts told the Times there was no evidence of a secondary explosion because there was no blown out walls or destroyed vegetation near the burned out car. A small crater under the car was consistent with a Hellfire missile, the experts said. The Pentagon initially presented the airstrike as a successful mission to prevent another bombing of Kabul airport after 13 U.S. service members and at least 169 Afghans died in a suspected Islamic State suicide attack on August 26. The procedures were correctly followed and it was a righteous strike, General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, said afterward. Are you crazy? There's no righteous strike here. The hell are you talking about? It's kids, man. Kids. Captain Bill Urban, spokesman for the U.S. Central Command, said U.S. military forces conducted a self-defense airstrike today on a vehicle in Kabul, eliminating an imminent ISIS-K threat at Hamad Karzai International Airport. We are confident we successfully hit the target. Significantly, secondary explosions from the vehicle indicated the presence of a substantial amount of explosive material. The military had been given broad leeway to attack suspected terrorists without presidential approval after the airport bombing, despite consistent reports of civilian casualties linked to U.S. airstrikes in Afghanistan. One day after the airport attack, the U.S. military said on August 27th, killed 2 suspected members of the Islamic State group in eastern Afghan via drone strike, though Biden administration has refused to reveal their names. 2 days later, the U.S. drone killed Ahmadi in Kabul. Yeah, Joe Biden is royally messing up. If you thought Trump was bad, Biden is worse. We struck ISIS-K remotely days after they murdered 13 of our service members and dozens of innocent Afghans. And to ISIS-K, we are not done with you yet, Biden said in the White House State Dining Room. Sit down, Joe. Just sit down. Shut up and sit down. The Times reports that drone operators weren't surveying Ahmadi's home before the strike, but had followed what they believed to be his vehicle during the day. So they did this wrong. They were lazy and they were sloppy with it. The paper noted that not long after the strike, ISIS militants used a white Toyota Corolla, the same model as Ahmadi's car, to launch missiles at Kabul airport. The White House National Security Council did not immediately respond to the Post's request for comment. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said U.S. Central Command continues to assess the results of the airstrike in Kabul on August 29th. We won't get ahead of that assessment. However, as we said, no other military works harder than we do to prevent civilian casualties. Really. Additionally, as Chairman Miley said, the strike was based on good intelligence, and we still believe that it prevented an imminent threat to the airport and to our men and women that were still serving at the airport. Yeah, way to be confident, screwing up. That's all I can say. Confident screw-ups. How many of you, I know this is an old movie, but check out Police Academy, right? These guys sound like clowns, utter clowns. And I just think that they're just doing things to start another war. That's what I think. Biden is just doing things on purpose to start another war. That's what I believe. I honestly believe that. He's trying to start another war. And his stooges are doing a great job at it. Tell me what you think in the comments. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Later.